Welcome to the Center for Real Estate Studies Masterclass Series. You're in for a real treat today. We have a very special guest with us. We have Alan Schnurman, who is a member of the class of 1971, a named partner in the Alan Schnurman law firm, and a very, very successful real estate developer. And he's here today to share his story and to share some words of inspiration, answer your questions. He's going to have the floor in about 1:35. He will call for questions if you have some, anytime, maybe we'll wait until then. But it's been probably 7 or 8 years since we've had Alan come and do a talk for us, and this is by far, it's going to make the rest of your day that much brighter. So with that, I will turn it over to Alan, and thank you all for being here.
Thank you very much, Erin. Well, thank you all for being here again. First of all, I was here 10 years ago. And do you know what happened 10 years ago in 2009? The Great Recession. And 10 years ago, I told all the students then, who are now all lawyers in their fields, I said, when you're crying, you should be buying. Now, what does that mean? The market was tanking. People weren't buying real estate. They weren't even buying cars. They weren't buying washing machines. There was a credit crisis. You didn't know whether your credit card would actually work in the machine. I don't know if anyone really remembers that, but there was tension throughout the whole area. The stock market was going down 100 points a day, sometimes more. Some of the biggest Wall Street firms were collapsing. And yet I stood here and I said, when you're crying, you should be buying. And wasn't that right? How did I know the future? How did I know that the market was going to take off in 2010, 2011? It was easy. It's history. We never know what tomorrow is going to bring. But we do know what yesterday brought. Now, isn't that interesting? If you look back, you'll know what's going to happen. All markets go up and down. Stock markets, bond markets, gold markets, and yes, real estate. I sat 50 years ago where you're sitting now. And I look just like you, except I was the same height and just a little more. So this is what you're going to look like in 50 years. But I was telling your professor, I feel the same way today as I did 50 years ago. Could you imagine? The same exact way. I'm still pushing boundaries. I'm still nervous every time I do a new deal or a new something. I feel like I'm always preparing for finals. And that's the way I like it. I'm not on the beach in Florida like most of my friends are, sitting away reading the Wall Street Journal, hour after hour. I'm doing deals and I'm writing books. Now, why in the world did I write this book? I wrote the book for you. Because 50 years ago, I had no role model. When I grew up, I didn't have a father. I was raised by a single mom who was a seamstress. There was nobody I could look up to. There was no one even in my family who ever went to college, no less law school. So what this book does, this book not only teaches you real estate and how to become successful and how to make a living and how to have self-respect and have respect of your peers. Isn't that what you want? Who doesn't want that? I know you got the pizza, but there's more to life. That's basically what you need. You need a role model. So I put in the book my story, my memoir, and how I did it. I always wanted to be successful. There was nobody in my family who was successful. My brother was not successful. My sister was not successful. Because they didn't have the right attitude. Both of them were very much older than me. But it was me and my mother, and she instilled in me an insight that I could do anything, that there was nothing that I could do. New York Law School gave me a partial scholarship, so I was able to go here. I drove a taxi at night, and I went to school in the day. I'll never forget Professor Koffler. Remember Professor Koffler? I fell asleep in his class. I worked all night. He woke me up. Well, I never slept again. To this day, I'm always scared. Remember how tough he was? Great on the outside, but in class, don't ever fall asleep in Koffler's class. But the reason I'm telling you this is to show you what can happen with your future. The whole idea, in my opinion, of life is to be happy. I am happy every day. Why? Because I want to be happy every day. I work at being happy every day. I only surround myself with functional people, not dysfunctional people. And some of them are family. But that is the essence. So what I could tell you now is, one, I could tell you how to be successful. I could tell you how to work hard. And if you want to be successful, you really have to be. You really have to want. You're not going to win the lottery. That's going to be in the next classroom. You're going to have to work hard. And it works. You want self-respect. You want respect of your peers. You want to be healthy. And most of all, you want family stability. In my life, family comes first. My wife, who's taking the pictures, after 45 years, she still comes to my talks. Could you imagine? She still wants to hear what I have to say, but truthfully, she wants to correct. You'll see. We had a television show for over almost 30 years on PBS called Lawline. And that was my producer, my director, my manager, and we lasted all those years. And that was fun. So basically, I went to law school. I became a trial lawyer. Why did I become a trial lawyer? Well, after 4 months of working for another attorney after law school, I got a job out in Mineola. Does anybody know where that is? All right. I got a job out in Mineola, although we lived in Queens. And he gave me everything to do. There was nothing he didn't give me to do. And after 4 months, I said to Judy, I can do this. I don't need Jack. And I opened up a practice, and I'm also an accountant. So I said, oh, maybe a corporation will come to me. Who came to me? People with accidents, people with fall downs. Some divorce cases, which I didn't like doing. It was just too harsh. But I became a trial lawyer who did personal injury work. And you know, I loved it every minute. For those attorneys that I knew, my friends who did corporate work, well, they liked it, they didn't like it. I loved what I did. Why? Because my clients all were interesting people, they were working class people, and I felt like Robin Hood. Yes, Robin Hood. I took from the rich insurance companies, and I gave to working class people. What could be better? I changed their lives. I sent their kids to school. They bought houses. And I did it. So yes, I made money. And from there, believe it or not, I've been practicing so long that was the time that they changed to advertising. The Supreme Court of the United States said it was okay for lawyers to advertise. In fact, the bar associations that did not allow you to advertise, they said it was restraint of trade. Not only that, believe it or not, at one time, I don't know if you remember this, there was a minimum fee schedule. Bar associations actually published minimum fees that you would get in your area. Well, they said, well, that was ridiculous. That was also against the law. So I immediately started advertising. I liked it. I wanted it. And not only, remember, we had a law show? We had the law show. Why did I have a law show? Because I thought it would bring me in business. What's a lawyer without work, without business? I needed clients. I went to New York Law School. I studied very hard here, by the way, because I wanted to be a good lawyer. I really wanted to be a good lawyer. I stayed every night in the library, right, when I wasn't working the cab. And I graduated, and I thought I could represent clients. I did it for 4 months with another attorney, and I went on my own practice. I liked what I did, and I needed clients. I had the law show on TV, cable TV. At that time, cable TV, now it's everywhere in the world, was only Manhattan. We lived in Brooklyn. I couldn't even hear myself. So, but eventually got around, and eventually actually we were picked up by PBS, and we were all over the metropolitan area, Channel 25, but that was years later. So I didn't get any cases, but what I did get, what was interesting, the networking. You will find as a lawyer, networking is everything. When you're practicing, you go to bar associations, you meet other lawyers, you meet the judges. So who did I interview? I interviewed famous lawyers. I wasn't famous, they were. I introduced the best judges. I interviewed the chief judge of the New York State every year for Law Day. So I was really known throughout the area. When I would go to the courthouse, people knew me, judges knew me. I'll never forget the first case I ever had when I worked for this lawyer in Mineola. First case, it was a criminal matter, 7 misdemeanors. I go for a motion, and I introduce myself, the other attorney introduces, and he says, Saul, to the other attorney. He says, Saul, how's your wife? I didn't see her at the country club. And my wife is okay, and he turns to me and goes, and what do you want? I knew I was on a downhill slope. So what I'm saying is, networking for a lawyer is money in the bank. If you get out there and you go to bar associations, you'll find that your fellow attorneys will refer your work, no matter what you do. Isn't that what you want to do? Let me see a show of hands. How many people want to be lawyers? How many people are taking these courses because they just want it for their background? Okay, that's okay. So you want to be an attorney. Remember, I practiced for 42 years before I retired. This is what retirement looks like, by the way. I loved every second of it. And so will you if you have a good attitude. I'm giving out free, these are the books. Each one of you can have one for free. No charge. In advertising, free is the best word there is in advertising. And remember, I learned advertising. I advertised on the radio, and I advertised with a fellow named Bernard Meltzer. How many people know ever heard the name? The same term. Bernard Meltzer. You didn't even know Bernard Meltzer. Bernard Meltzer, what's your problem? He was on WOR 710. And they called me to be on the show because I was written up by the New York Times on an accident case in the home. So I went down there. It was a Saturday. I couldn't believe I was going to be on the Bernard Meltzer show. Bernard Meltzer was the best pitchman on radio. And what's a pitchman? He wouldn't give an advertisement. He would tell a story. He would tell whether it was Kademi Motors or the Empire Gold Remodeling Group, Gold Refining, Zalman and Schnurman. He would tell a story how my client called me. I referred Zalman and Schnurman. She had an accident in the bakery. She fell down on some stuff on the floor, and he did a great job. So again, advertising, networking, working at success. You have to want success to work at it. After the show, I remember it was 1999. By the way, what I did was, remember, I'm a businessman as well as a lawyer. So I always took more space than I needed. I would take 3 or 4 times the space I needed. And I would rent to other lawyers. So not only would I get income from the lawyers to pay my landlord, but it became like a small law firm with inter-referrals. So I remember 1999, one of the attorneys came to me, Alan, you got to see this. He was an aviation lawyer. In fact, he used to land planes on aircraft carriers. He used to tell me it was like crash landing every time from the Navy. And he says, you got to look at this. And he showed me the internet. And he showed me what he could do. And it showed me that this was something that I've never seen before, how you could do research. I looked at it, and I said, boy, this is unbelievable. And I understood right there and then that this was a vehicle of the future. And I went into my partner, Ben. I had been giving a lot of courses then at the Bar Association on trial law, on business of law. And I said, lawyers no longer had to go to the Bar Association. They no longer had to take vacations and go. They could get their continuing legal education, which had just become mandatory, on the internet. And I hired software people, and there was no, by the way, there was no online internet CLE, continuing legal education, at that time in New York State. There might have been, in fact, we may have been the first in the country. We went to the Office of Court Administration. If you get admitted in New York, you'll know about the Office of Court Administration. And we worked out a way that they could figure out if a lawyer was really taking the course. They approved us. We were the first one to give continuing legal education. We were the first mover in the market. And now it's 21 years later, and we're still the first one in the market. We've already given over 3 million courses, all on the internet, all to lawyers. So my son took it over in 2006. My daughter actually works there as well. She does the management of the place. They have about 30 employees, and it's a significant business. All this time, I'm doing all these things, the TV show, the law show, the internet. I was buying and selling real estate. Because I knew that the stock market was not for me. I invested $1,000 in the stock market. Before I knew it, I had $500. And we had no money. When we got married, we had $30,000 worth of debt from college and stuff. Today, I know it's much more than that. But to us, $30,000 was a lot of money, and we owed it. And so I didn't want to lose another $500, and I knew there had to be another way. So I was in the dentist chair. Actually, I was in the dentist waiting to go into the dentist chair. And I was reading Forbes magazine, and it said 400 richest people in the United States. So I always want to be rich. So I'm reading it, and it said, real estate. This one went to real estate. This one, real estate. Real estate. This is before hedge funds. Yes, there was a time that we never heard the word hedge funds. In fact, if I knew about hedge funds when I was in college, I'd go into hedge funds. Why be a lawyer? So I came home and I said, boy, look at this. All these people are in real estate. That must be the place to go. Again, I had no money. All I had was debts. What difference did it make? So we went into real estate. And what we did was first we gathered some money together and we bought apartments, condos, and I would settle a case. I'd buy a house that we lived in. I'd settle another case, and we'd buy a small mixed unit that would be a store and 2 apartments above. And I liked it. And then we sold our first project by 80 times what we put down, because you leverage it. You go to a bank, you get a mortgage. 80 times, and I said, this is for me. Boy. So all you have to do in real estate, you don't have to be a genius, just have to follow the real estate rules. And the real estate rules were true 200 years ago, they're true today, It'll be true 200 years from today. You going to be here? 200 years from today? No, you're not going to be here. Oh my God, I didn't know that. So the whole idea is to become happy in the time that you're here, because this is really your only opportunity. But this is a very select group here. What do I mean by that? You all decided to go to law school, and you decided to go to a great law school. And you're all going to get a great education. It's what you do with that education that either you'll prosper or you won't. And again, it all comes back to attitude. The reason I named the book I Can, I Will, I Must, because that's very important, because I say that to myself every single morning. Why do I say that and my two other phrases? Because I have to re-energize myself. Let me say that again. Even today, I have to re-energize myself. I'm still scared. I'm still risk adverse. But I have that quote, and I have my two other quotes. Second quote, and this is from Helen Keller. How many of you know who Helen Keller is? Lawyers, smart people. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. Optimism is the faith that leads to achievement. Nothing can be done without hope and confidence. You have to be optimistic. I am optimistic. I make sure I am optimistic. You cannot invest in anything, whether it's real estate, diamonds, stocks, bonds, commodities, if you're not optimistic. You're not looking to invest to lose money. And the only way you're going to really become financially secure is by investing. You'll make a lot of money, at least you'll hope you'll make a lot of money as an attorney. But you know what? You'll pay a lot of taxes. And your children will go to school, and everything is so expensive, especially in the New York metropolitan area. Taxes are high. So the only way you're really going to make financial security is through investing. And in real estate, you need patience. So I'm telling you now, if you don't have patience, and you're not looking for the long term, it's not for you. Because it just takes time, but it's solid. And you know the market's going to go up eventually. Why? First of all, there are people moving into the New York metropolitan area every single day. It's the heart of the world. You have 50, 60 million visitors alone. You have people from out of the state. How many people here are from not New York City area? They're in the room. So you know what I'm talking about. Everybody gravitates to New York. So that's why real estate in this area will always be good. People are being born. When I was in law school 50 years ago, there were 2 billion people in the world. How many people are there now? Who knows? There were 2 billion when I went to law school. Yes?
7.5 billion.
7.5 billion people. Where do they got to live? In your house. Where are they going to shop? In your store. I'm not kidding. They got to, everything is not the internet. They need things. And by the time you're standing up here in 50 years, how many people do you think there'll be here? Maybe 15 billion. And they're all going to have to live, shop, work somewhere. The third quote, which I haven't told you yet. Let's say we have, I can, I will, I must. We have, what's the other one? Let's see who's listening. Optimism. Let me hear it. Wait, am I talking to myself here? Optimism. How many people feel they're optimistic? Let me see my hands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Come on, you can do better than that. All right, how many are pessimistic? Everything's going. 1, 2, Thank God we have more optimists than 3. We have more optimists than pessimists. All right? So we know who we are. But most people are risk adverse. You want to make money? Take risks. Calculated risks. Due diligent risks. You want to make money, you want to be secure, you want to support your family, take risks. And you know what? Look inside yourself. I can, I will, I must. Remember, if I say it every day, you can say it every day. If I say I have to be optimistic, you can say you're optimistic. And what is the key, the third quote I say every single morning? Attitude equals altitude. Let me hear you say it.
Attitude equals altitude.
I didn't even hear you.
Attitude equals altitude.
Let me hear it from the optimists. Come on. All right. I got the point. So if you just follow those things, look, what am I trying to tell you? I'm trying to give you the seeds of success. You have to be trustworthy. You have to be credible. And you have to do no harm. If you're trustworthy, you're credible, and you do no harm, people will like you. People will come to you. When I started doing bigger deals than co-ops and condos, I needed more money. How do you get more money? You call your friends, you call your family. The friends you went to law school with, look on the left and right. These are the people you're going to call. And you say, listen, what I did was, I stayed in my area. I live in, where do you live? I live in Brooklyn. What section? I live in Greenpoint. I live in Greenpoint. And what I've done is, I've looked at, I want to go into real estate. And for the last 6 months, I've looked at every house for sale in Greenpoint, Brooklyn. A hot area. All young people. And what I've done is, I've now saw, because they publish all the closing prices on these houses, on these apartments. And I saw what they closed for. In fact, what I do is on weekends, I walk around just to see what that house sold for, because I have the address, what that apartment sold for. And I have an idea. And then I figured out, I went to a broker. In fact, I went to 3 brokers. I know you have no money. It makes no difference. It doesn't cost anything to tell the broker you're looking at houses. You're looking at apartments. Well, what are you doing? You're learning the market. And you learn the market. And you know the market better than anyone else. And you know the prices. So what you do is, all right, I saw this apartment. I saw this house. What a great buy. What a value buy. We love value buys. Buy low, sell high. What a smart. Buy low, sell high. Genius. And that's how you do it. You find the value buy, and then you call your friends, you call your relatives, and you say, listen, if we all put our money together and we buy this, I think we'll do very well in the long term, because the rent will carry the mortgage, the rent will carry the taxes, and maybe there's a little left over for us. But Greenpoint on Green Avenue, DeKalb Avenue, is an up-and-coming area. Very active in Brooklyn. Very active in Brooklyn. It's only going to get better over the long term. And that's how you do it. And if you put together the deal, you're entitled to what we call a premium. Why? Because you're doing all the work. What I used to do is, remember I had no role model. I had to make everything up myself, but I'll tell you how I did it. What I did was I did deals. I made this up myself. Never heard it from anyone else. First money that comes in, everybody gets their money back. And then from the profit, the cash flow profit, I get 25% for all the work that I'm doing. And you know what? Everybody loved that deal. They still love the deal, although I don't take investors anymore. But who did I call? I called my friends, my children, and my friends from high school. And we all did very, very well. Today, if I do call them, it's just 2 questions. How much and when do you need it? Because, you know, real estate goes up in good areas. Okay, 5 things in real estate. Let me hear, what's the most important thing in real estate?
Location.
I love this group. This is a good group. And after location, 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 because it's worth 3 times the money, you all know that, it's patience, patience, patience. Remember, I keep telling you, if you don't have patience, this is not for you. And a market will bite you every single time if you're over-leveraged. If you take a 75% mortgage and a 20% hard money. Does anybody know what hard money means? What's hard money?
Basically, high interest rate loans given to investors with property.
Exactly. High interest rates. Hard money now is going for 12% and 3 or 4% up front. It's hard to make anything when you're paying 12%. So my advice is don't ever go that way. I've never gone that way. So we got location, we got patience. Third thing is, remember I said you got to be credible and trustworthy. The next thing is there's always another deal. Why do I say that? Sometimes you're following deals. There's a market. There's multiple bidders, and you really want the deal. But sometimes you got to let a deal go by. So let's see what I've got now. I've taught you location. I've taught you this. I've taught you that. Let me ask you. Of this group, does anyone own their own apartment or their own house? 1. Well, that's pretty good. And who really wants to go into real estate? Who thinks it's Greenpoint? Good area. There are no bad areas in New York City. There's no bad areas in Manhattan. And now is the time to buy. That's why I brought up when I first started talking, 2008, 2009, the last time I was here. I brought it up because if I wanted to invest for the long term, I would invest right now. Remember my saying, when you're crying, you should be crying. Tell all your friends. It's so hard to catch a falling knife. When markets are going down, the knife is falling, and you got to grab it, and you know you're going to get cut. Because no one knows the bottom of the market. If I knew the bottom of any market, you'd be living in Schnurmanville. This wouldn't be Manhattan. But I do know that if you buy when things are bad, sell when you think it's going to the heavens. Sell when everybody says, my God, this is the best thing ever. It keeps going up every month. Apartment goes for more money and more money. That's when you want to sell. You won't get the top, and if you buy today, you won't get the bottom. But it's that middle range that will pay you off your debts from law school. What could be bad? The middle range. No one gets the top, no one gets the bottom. Because it's unrealistic to think that you're smart enough to know where a market's going to go or be. It's just no one knows that. It's thousands and thousands of trades. Right now is a good opportunity. In fact, if you buy in your area where you live, where you know the area, and you know it's an up-and-coming area, and there's young people in the area, always go young people, because that's the future. You know, I go to Williamsburg now, and of course, years ago, Williamsburg was nothing. The Lower East Side, 20 years ago, I wouldn't walk through. Today, I can't afford it. That's what makes New York so dynamic. The area is changing. I'm a walker, and I walk everywhere. I walk usually 2 to 4 hours a day, every day. I used to be a long-distance runner. I was a marathon runner. I ran 15 marathons. And now I walk long distances. I can't run anymore. I used to play tennis. So now all I do is run, I hike, I ski. And I hike all over the world. Why am I telling you this? I'm telling you this because health is just an important part of the formula. If you're not healthy and you don't respect your own body, trust me, it's going to reject you, especially when you get older. I also try to eat right. I'm a vegan. I've been a vegetarian for 40 years. So this is all part of the formula of success. It's not a secret. Success is not a secret, and if you follow the program, it comes. It's the most open secret there is, except you have to embrace it. You have to have confidence in yourself. You have to be able to know, I can do it. I can buy that property. And look, you went to law school. How many people go to law school? Not that many. You wanted to make something of yourself. So the world is in your hands. Your future is in your hands. Okay, now I'll take questions. Yeah?
What do you think are some changing neighborhoods in your city, in Manhattan in specific, that you see that, I guess that, in areas that would improve or would be a good investment?
Very good question. A hard question, because there are so many areas. Harlem is hot. Harlem is hot. The Lower East Side, of course it's on fire. The financial district, where I'm fairly active here, it is, you want to choose an area, especially if you have a lot of years and you're young. You want to choose an area, what I call a bridge area. What do I mean by a bridge area? An area that's between two really good areas. Why? Because eventually, if you're young, you don't have to be a genius to figure out, they'll come into that area and you'll be a winner. In Brooklyn especially, so many areas. Bedford-Stuyvesant. When I was young, you wouldn't walk there. You wouldn't go there. Crown Heights. These are areas on the up and coming. It's, remember, you want to buy low, sell. You can hear this group. It's either you're enthusiastic or you're not. Buy low, sell. That's how you make money. How hard was that to say? That's how you do it. All right, next question. Must be another question. Yeah.
Alan, in the book, and you touched on this slightly, when you go to sell, sometimes it's really difficult to let go. You think that market's just going to keep going and going. Your experience, can you give some examples of situations where you have sold and the property just keeps going crazy? How do you keep from kicking yourself and saying, I should have held on?
First of all, this is Jim Cooper. Jim Cooper has just done the audio of my book. So that's my voice. You think I'm over here, I'm really over there. I know it's hard. I know it's hard to believe. Now, I am a good buyer. I am a great buyer. I am the best buyer. I'm the worst seller. You want to make money, follow me around. When I list a property, that's the property to buy. You can't ever, I had stories. I sold a property, I sold my brownstone in Park Slope. I sold it for $805,000. I put down $10,000. That was the times my money, put down $10,000, sold it for $805,000. I thought this was ice cream. Today, that brownstone is worth $4.5 million. Okay? I had a building downtown here, 66 Pearl Street. Anybody know 66 Pearl? Fi-Di, financial district. Bought it with partners, bought it for $19 million. They were asking $15 million. We got into a bidding war. Paid $19 million. We sold it for $31 million. You would think, wow, it took a number of years. Wow. The Israeli guy who bought it condoed we had 5 retail stores, sold one for $28 million, sold the upstairs, made a total of $47 million. How smart am I? How smart am I? So you ask the question, is a professional always says good for them? A professional always says good for them, although I seem like I'm lamenting, but I'm not really. Good for them. They were smart and you could learn from them. So the projects were good when I bought it. Obviously, they were better when I sold it. Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah.
All right. Professionals never look back because there's always, that's what's great about real estate. There's always another deal. Listen, I'm 74 years old. I feel like I'm 24. There's always another deal. There's always something else to do. Yes?
How old were you when you invested in your first property, and how did you deal with maybe people that questioned why you were doing what you said? Oh, it's crazy.
Okay, I'm going to tell you about my second deal, because I'll never forget. My second deal was when I bought the brownstone in Park Slope, the one that's worth $4.5 million today. My mother comes to the brownstone. She looks at the brownstone. I think I paid $115,000. Put down 10, because Citibank was running a deal that like 10% more. They financed 90%. She looks at the house and goes, "Where's the garage?" I go, "Ma, these townhouses don't have it." She says, "All these houses? Are you crazy? No garage?" So, that's what people say. Listen, 2 people you never listen to. What? Let's see. We bought our first property in 1976, so I was 31 years old. And I had enough time to accumulate $30,000 worth of debt. That's how I remember. But 2 people you never listen to. And excuse this. One is your accountant, and the second is your lawyer. I know you're lawyers, but the second may be too close. Why is that? First of all, they're conservative. They're pessimistic. That's why they're lawyers and accountants. They don't want you to lose money. Your family doesn't want you to make a mistake. You go work in the post office. They give you a pension. You'll get a pension. Why take the risk of being a lawyer and spend all that money? You work in the post office. Your dad worked in the post office. Look how happy he is. You look around. That's your answer. Look how happy he is. But that's what it is. You have to be your own boss. You have to listen, do your homework. Be optimistic. There's nothing you can't do. I believe there's nothing I can do. Why did I write? I keep pushing boundaries. I keep doing things that I've never done before. I just bought 2 hotels. I bought my first hotel. It was a grand slam home run. I bought the second hotel. I haven't gotten to first base yet. That's what happens in real estate. But it's going to take time to work. Yes?
Besides for studying the markets and researching when you're buying, like by walking and going and really researching how much homes sell for and resale value, how much research do you do, like with city ordinances and how do they restrict you from buying?
Good question. First, really, I'm only looking out for price, what it sells for compared to the other properties that I sold around the corner. I'm interested in what I can rent for, as opposed to the other properties around the corner. And of course, you always want to know if there's any laws that affect me, like landmark. Landmark is a significant law in the city of New York. Why? Because you can't build up, and if you build up, it has to be set back so it doesn't disturb your sight line in the city. These are laws that you have to pay attention to, but you live with it, and you'll know the landmark districts. Other than that, unless you want to develop, I also develop. I develop. Quick story. I never bought land before. I never bought land. Well, I never bought it, I want to buy land. That's the next thing I want to buy. So I'm in Bridgehampton, we were very active in the Hamptons. And a 26 acre piece on Ocean Road, south of the highway. How many people know what south of the highway is in the Hamptons? Oh, good. South of the highway means money. North of the highway means money. South of the highway, money. Because you're near the ocean, and it's easy to get to. And in the Hamptons, it's all about the ocean. Otherwise, it'd be massive people park. So, 26 acres come up. It's a farm. I said, I should own this. I didn't have that much. But I was back. I got on the phone. I called my friends. And said, listen, let's put together a deal here. It's 26 acres. We would say we have to develop it. It's one lot now. We could probably get 6 lots. I go to my lawyer. He says you're entitled to 6 lots. I go to my land guy. He says we can get 6 lots. I raise the money, and I get the story. They were asking $15 million. I offered $12 million. They took it. Why did they take it? Because everybody else offered them $15 million. People offered them $15 million. They took my $12 million. Why? Can anybody figure out why? Cash. Cash is one. And what's the second thing? Everybody else made the contract contingent upon them getting approvals for 6 lots. I didn't know that. I didn't know you could do that. I never did it before. Did I know I could make a contract contingent upon getting approvals, which took almost 3 years? Well, the seller, when he saw my $12 million that I was paying, I was going hard on the contract. Said, all right, you got a deal. I bought it. Got my approvals with my partners. And we sold it probably in 60 days of getting our approvals for 6 lots. And the rest was reserved. Each lot was about 2 acres. We had maybe a 13-acre reserve. We sold it when we got our approvals for 37.5. Real estate. You think I'm talking in a vacuum here? Page 12. Back in page 12, we got a $7.5 million mortgage. So we only put down $5 million. Plus carry. Always carry. Carry hurts. Taxes, lawyers, make a lot of money. Land people, yeah.
Where are you getting most of your deals when you're buying and selling?
Ah, very good. You got to search deals. I get every single day a minimum 20 projects to look at every single day. I enjoy looking at them, not that I go out there. All over the country. All right, any other questions? Yes? No? Yes?
Yes, your emphasis on optimism sounds similar to the philosophical approach of using the subconscious mind to affect positive outcomes. So do you think that a proper understanding of the subconscious mind is essential to achieving success in real estate or any other field for that matter?
Great question, and I got the answer. I'm going to tell you a story. Maybe I'm 8 years old, 9 years old. I'm with my sister. She's 20, I'm 8. We go all the time with our friends to the cyclone. Does anybody know the cyclone in Coney Island? Anybody know that? Does anybody know that? They're the smartest guy in the room. She takes me to the sidewalk with her friends. She always leaves me downstairs, and they go on, and they come off laughing. And I go, I want to go on the stop me. Time in and time again. Well, here I'm grown up. I'm scared to step up the sidewalk. I was always told it's not for me. It's for everybody else, but it's not for me. And I was absolutely had fear. Fear of the sidewalk. One day I said to myself, I'm going to go on the sidewalk. And the only way I'm going to do it is I'm going to hold on to that bar as hard as I possibly can. So my fingers are white. I'm going to hold on to that bar. But every minute I'm going to be saying to myself, this is fact. This is wonderful. And I'm going to do that. So now I'm on the sidewalk. And I'm holding up. I'm scared out of my mind. I can't even breathe. I can't breathe. I'm so scared. I'm white with fear. And I'm screaming, this is wonderful. This is great. This is everything on me. It's going up slowly. And it's going higher and higher. I think I'm going to throw up. It's going higher. I can't tell you. I mean this sincerely. I thought I was going to die. And then it makes the turn. And I said, I was saying every prayer I could possibly think of, but screaming, this is wonderful, this is great. And it goes shooting down. I didn't die. It was amazing. I was still alive, and I'm still screaming, this is great, this is wonderful, even to the end of the road, and after that I could go on any second. So the thing, what I did was, I lied to myself. I know it sounds strange, lying to yourself, but it worked for me, it may work for you. I lied to myself thinking that I can do this, because I didn't want anything that I was so scared of. I actually did the same thing on a high diving board. And I was able to do that. I could swim. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. You can do anything if you have the right attitude, if you approach it the right way, and if you have the confidence in yourself that you can do it. My mother, if she was your mother, she'd give you the confidence. So I had somebody instill confidence in me when I was young, and we had nothing. She was a seamstress. She worked 6 months a year, and 6 months, the other 6 months, she went to the unemployment office every Wednesday. Sometimes they send her on a job, sometimes they didn't. But, so that's the whole idea what I'm trying to impress you upon, that it's your own self, that your future is in your own hands. And you can do it. Most people believe that the person next to them is smarter than them. Most people believe that the lawyer who's the adversary is a better lawyer. They're not. Just most people believe. If you believe in yourself, you'll be standing here. Just don't wait till Any other questions? All right, then you all know. One more.
What do you think about the new rent regulation laws that are put in place, and what do you think it'll affect?
I speak slowly, I talk slowly, I understand slowly. Say again.
What do you think about the new rent regulation laws that are put into place, and where do you think that'll?
The one that took place July 14th, that law that has changed real estate as I know it forever, that law, I know nothing about it. That law, how many people here rent? How many people here rent in a rent-stabilized building? 1, 2, 3. Never leave. Have your children. Never, ever leave. Why? Because under the new law that took effect July 14, 2019, if you're in a rent-stabilized building, you own that apartment. That sounds strange. You own the apartment. I pay $2,100 a month. You own the apartment. Why? Because you can pass that apartment on to your children. There's no more rent fee control. You can make $1 million a year and still pay the $2,100 a month. In the old law, you used to have to, the landlord could increase your rent By 140 if they put in a new boiler or a new roof. Now it's limited to $50,000 or 30 years. So for renters in a rent-stabilized unit, it's very good. However, with that said, from a landlord's point of view, why in the world would I put a new boiler in when I can fix the old one if I can't pass it on to my tenants? Why would I put a new roof on the building when I can patch it up, even though it leaks, but I can't pass it on to my tenants? So as far as multiple dwellings, and by the way, I do not own any rent-stabilized apartments. I've always stayed away from rent control. But you know, there's a lawsuit now pending against it. The real estate industry feels it's a taking. I'm not going to comment on that. But I am telling you, it's quite a change in the New York area. Our time is running out. No other questions? Thank you very much. All right, here's the question. You can come up, I've autographed these books, one for each, and it's my gift to you, but I ask you one thing. If you like the book, and you have to read it to like it. If you like the book, send me a review to Amazon or Goodreads, because I want to make it a bestseller. Thank you.